I find it quite interesting that we insist on placing social policy against budgetary constraints, and I will try to suggest a different way of thinking. What are the primary reasons behind social policy? I think one is survival, and I think the second one is security. So let's address security, and I would rather address it in a different context. Let's address fear, because that is where insecurity comes from. If we look at this debate as an effort to address fear, our options multiply. And they multiply if we understand where fear comes from. Fear comes as much from lack of resources, lack of funds, as it comes from lack of access to resources and power. At least back home, that is very much the case. For example, deepening democracy is a way of fighting fear. Getting people to feel that they are part of the decision-making process helps alleviate fear. Making the EU more transparent than it is today reduces fear. Working to make social services equitable in the country reduces fear, because right now people feel that people with money have more access to services than people without money. Fighting against oligarchies is a way of easing fears. Making banks and alternative sources of finance available, for example, is a way of easing fear. So when it comes to addressing fear, we have not been using all the tools we have available to address. But there's one more reason why I think we should put fear in a different context. People in fear do not produce wealth. It is as simple as that. We cannot expect people in fear to take initiatives, to take risks, to invest. So I think that Greece and Europe, I think as a whole, is lagging behind its competitors, not only because of technology or the other things that were addressed here, but because we're actually failing to address fear. And because Mr. Beck addressed the United States, I find it extremely interesting that President Biden is forgiving student debt as we speak, because they don't want a whole generation of young people to live in fear and to be removed from the production process. So I think that we need to put our thinking caps on, think outside the box, and start understanding social policy in a completely different context if we want to have the resources and the power to do what we need to do.